it's a little peaceful little piece of history right here. It's quaint, it's not overly crowded and overly manicured. It is just a nice, peaceful place. This is definitely worth preserving. We have the original Nall family buried here. We have at least the wives, although I think John White, who was a Native American who gave half the land for the cemetery, his wife has a tombstone here. We believe he's buried here also, although there is no marker. About 3 years ago, we bought a lot in the cemetery for our son. We picked the cemetery because it's in Prairie Village, and that was important to us to keep him near us, and that we could plant flowers next to his gravesite, that we could do some things that a lot of modern cemeteries don't allow. And at that time it was managed by Asher Langworthy, and he was running a business and trying to by himself manage the cemetery, and so he had one rule: and close the gate when you leave. So he did what he could, but he was doing it by himself, and it's too big a job to do by yourself. And there wasn't a lot of money to do things with. So about a year ago, a new board formed. We have established some rules and regulations. Part of what we have been doing over the last year is figuring out what needs to be done and what order it makes the most sense to be done. One of the things that we want to do quickly is have someone restore some of the old and broken headstones and get those back in good shape, get them cleaned up enough, do some work to see if there are some that are buried just below the surface that when the vandalism happened in the 80s that they were knocked over and they've just gotten covered with dirt. So we want to look for that. One of the differences with this cemetery and most cemeteries is you actually get a deed for your piece of land here, where most cemeteries you purchase the right to be buried in the land, but we actually register each lot with the county, so you get a deed for your piece of land. And we've started marketing the cemetery. So we've sold some lots, and we've taken, the lots were initially platted, so they were either 10 feet by 20, 21, or 24 feet. And we have broken a few of those down into individual grave sites because there are people who don't want to spend the money it takes to buy a bigger piece, and they only have 1 or 2 people they want to bury. It started in the 1860s, so it's easy to see that that's a historic item. But there's history all around us, and we need to do what we can to protect it. This was started by the families in the area because they had a need. Somebody died and they had to bury them, and so they picked a piece of land that was high on the hill, as hilly as it gets over here, and they set this aside for the cemetery.